بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. This evening we're going to be speaking about Qiyamul Layl, the night vigil, getting up in the night to engage in communion and worship and devotion, adoration of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the greatest prayer after the maktuba, after the 5 appointed prayers, as we know, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha and Fajr. The greatest prayer of the Nawafil after this is the Qiyamul Layl. Qiyamul Layl literally means standing in the night, standing up in prayer in the night. And the scholars have a difference of opinion, and the general understanding is that the Prophet ﷺ didn't have a specific wird or a specific form of Qiyamul Layl. Sometimes in terms of the amount of units of prayer that he would pray, the adad al-rak'at, and also in terms of the Quran in which he would recite within it. And typically the people of Allah, the people of this path, would differ right from the beginning of this tradition. The Sahaba, there were those of them that some of them would recite the entire Musab, the entire Quran in one rak'ah, and then they would bow down. From the likes of which Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu complete an entire khatmah in one rak'ah every single night. There were some of them, and they would do more in terms of the amount of rak'at. In everything that you do, when you stand, it has an effect on the heart. When you bow, it has an effect on the heart. When you prostrate, it has an effect on the heart. And as the masters have mentioned in the text and that which has reached us, that every single form, every single approach to Allah, one receives something different. In different forms, the multiplicity of the types and the forms and the modes of dhikr. Those that remember Allah standing and sitting and upon their sides. It's not just that it's the same effect. When you stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has a certain effect on the heart. When you bow before Allah, when you sit, everything has an effect. The type of dhikr that you do, the type of wird, has a different effect on the heart. Lawwan al-ta'at, it literally illuminates, or you could say it's entered into the spectrum of approaches to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah knew that boredom was present within the human soul, Lawwana al-ta'at, that's what Imam al-Haddad says. Lawwana, from the word lawn, colour. He made the ways to approach him colourful. And there's a huge spectrum of approaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There were those that said from the likes of Imam al-Ghazali, from the likes of them, the great Hujjat al-Islam, Imam al-Ghazali, that the ways, turuq, the pathways, the channels back to Allah outnumber the breaths of all creation. And all of those are within the beautiful tapestry which was laid out for us by the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're not just talking about going slightly left of field. We're not talking about reinterpreting Islam. All of those are within the broader umbrella of Islam that outnumber the breaths of all creation. How many billions of ways are there back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? To catch the eye of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to come close, to come into proximity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to taste the sweetness of closeness to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is Kareem, Allah is generous, because He could have just made it one way, but He didn't. And part of that diversity within us is we all have different approaches back to Him. So the greatest of ways to do this is in Qiyamul Layl. Now, Qiyamul Layl means standing in prayer in the night, but it can also mean, they translate it often as the night vigil. And what that means is just to wake up in the night and being some form of ibadah, some form of engagement, some form of receptivity. To wake up at that time. Who's going to do this? Because there's 1,000,001 excuses why not. Who's going to do this? This is, as we'll find out, this is one of the biggest things and one of the most transformative forms of approach to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the murid, for a person that's truly sincere upon the path. in many ways is absolutely incomparable. If you want a really quick fire route to get close to Allah, wake up in the night. Tamam. So we're going to take from selected excerpts from different texts. Some of the things will be repeated, and we're going to reflect briefly over these. So Imam al-Haddad radiallahu anhu, he says, بِالصَّلَاةِ اللَّيْلِ وَعَلَيْكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ اللَّيْلِ فَقَدْ قَالَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامُ أَفْضَلُ الصَّلَاةِ بَعْدَ الْمَكْتُوبَةِ صَلَاةِ اللَّيْلِ. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the greatest prayer after the maktuba, the 5 daily obligatory prayers. What does he mean by afdal? The reward, the light, the nur, the beauty, the effect on the heart, what it means to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After the 5 obligatory prayers is Salat al-Layl, the prayer in the depths of the night. وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام فضل صلاة الليل على صلاة النهار كفضل صدقة السر على العلانية. So the merit or the greatness of prayer in the night as opposed to a voluntary prayer during the day is like the similitude of sadaqah, charity given in absolute secret and nobody knows, compared to charity given, in public. And it's been related that sadaqat sir, charity given in secret, is 70 times greater than charity given in public, given in a crowd. Obviously doing. Now the scholars talk about this in terms of iqtida. If somebody is somebody who is followed, and it will be an encouragement for the community, then it can be a preference for them to give in front of people, and it's not considered riya. Is not considered ostentation or showing off. But that goes back to certain shurut and preconditions that the scholars mention. And he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَعَلَيْكُمْ بِقِيَامِ اللَّيْلِ. You should pray the qiyam al-layl. Pray the night prayer. Wake up in the night. Why? فَإِنَّهُ دَأْبَ الصَّالِحِينَ قَبْلَكُمْ. This is the way of the truly righteous people before you. Anyone. Some of the scholars have even said to the extent there's not a righteous person on earth other than they pray the Qiyam al-Layl. So if we want to know our level of salah, if we're of the salihin, where are we at with Qiyam al-Layl? La ilaha illallah. فَإِنَّهُ دَأْبُ الصَّالِحِينَ قَبْلَكُمْ. This is the practice, this is the way of the people of Allah. They pray in the night. They wake up in the night. وَمَقْرَبَ إِلَيْكُمْ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ. And it's a means to gain proximity, to gain closeness to your Lord. Who's saying this? The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nobody knew better. And he was just unfolding the path for us. You want to get close to Allah? This is how to do it. It's one of the ways to get close to Allah. وَمَكْفَرَ لِلسَّيِّئَاتِ. This is another thing. We have to understand that it's not just this dislodged, severed, dislocated thing that you do, functional thing, because it's nice. If you pray in the night, it's going to have effect on the things you do. It's going to have effect on your behavior. It's going to block certain spiritual realities. It's going to open certain spiritual realities. One of them is mentioned here by the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's a means for expediating, wiping away sins. Okay? وَمَنْهَاتٌ عَنِ الْإِثْمِ. And it will prevent you from falling into sin. There are certain acts of obedience, certain acts of devotion, certain approaches to Allah, that part of the beauty of them, part of the nur, the light within them, is it actually stops you and channels you away from falling into sin. Another one is Salat al-Duha, which comes from roughly around 16 minutes, depending on the astronomical degrees in a particular land, after Ishraq, after the rising of the sun. All the way up until Zawal, just before Dhuhr. So it's hours and hours to pray 2 rak'ahs. It's called Salat al-Duha. Imam al-Shafi'i said, anybody that wants to leave sin, فَعَلَيْهِ بِالضُّحَى. He needs to pray the Duha prayer. I was like, what's that got to do with that? I thought it had to be a rationalized thing. Certain things in the deen, leave your intellect out of it. It's about nur, about light, it's about waking up your heart. It's about following. These are the coordinates of the Prophet ﷺ. We're going to waste our trying to figure things out. Gets to a point, you've missed the point. In kuntum tuhibbuna Allah fattabi'uni yuhibbukum Allah. If you really love Allah, if you want to get close to Allah, you want to get real with Allah, فَاتَّبِعُونِي, follow me, come with me, come my way. It's a way that I know. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. There's no greater guide. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And what's the result? يُحْبِبُكُمْ Allah. Habib Ahmed bin Zayn al-Habashi, who studied to the age of 40, for 40 years rather, the deep intrinsic sciences and disciplines and arts of our deen. The sciences of the inward and the sciences of the outward. Before he met his teacher, Imam al-Haddad. And when he met Imam al-Haddad, he saw a light in him which he'd never seen before. And he surrendered everything. As if he's one of our teachers, they said, even when, and this is on the, he's the head mufti on the board of fatwa in the school. He said, whenever I go to a lesson with my teachers, I take my shoes off outside and I place my knowledge with it. Meaning, I'm not going to go in thinking I know it all. I'm going to go in and receive. I'm going to go in and just take everything like a sponge. No. Radiyallahu anhu. Adab. So Habib Ahmed bin Zayn al-Habashi, he said, when I used to look at Imam al-Haddad, I would watch where he would place his footsteps as he walked before me, and I would place my feet in the place where he would stand, in the hope that that which flowed over him would similarly flow over me. That's love. You're watching the footsteps. And that's the thing, when you follow the Prophet ﷺ, it's not a dry following. It's not it's not being a copycat. Come close to Allah by being some kind of dry copycat. Who are you following? And who are you imitating? And who are answering the call of? Because we've been blinded by charlatans. Come my way, come this way, come that way. Rasulullah ﷺ you can trust. You can give him your soul and you can trust. He takes more care of it than you could ever take care of it. And that's why a lot of the way we are is, no, I'm better just taking care of my own soul. And I'll work out my own way. Don't worry, it's safe. It's not. You can place your trust in him. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ. Who's saying this? Allah. And our Sheykh would say the sigha of the ayah, the flow of this verse, the way it would flow is قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ. Say if you truly love Allah, then follow Allah. Then obey the command of Allah. But it's, say if you truly love Allah, then follow me. And the flow would be like, and then I will love you. But it's not, يُحْبِبُكُمْ Allah. Say if you truly love Allah, then follow me, and Allah will love you. That's the intrinsic connection. That's the centrality of the Prophet ﷺ to our deen. La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli wa rafa'ana laka dhikrak, and we've raised your remembrance sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak alayhi wa sallam. Tayyib. I'm going to go back to this. Let's see what Sayyidina Sheykh Abu Bakr bin Sanim. So this is all sanad, all goes back through all the way back to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Imam al-Haddad of the Akabir, the great masters of his teachers, was Imam Umar ibn Abdurrahman al-Atas. And his teacher was Hussein bin Sheykh Abu Bakr bin Sanim. So we're just going back a few generations. Imam al-Haddad, Umar ibn Abdurrahman al-Atas, Hussein bin Sheykh Abu Bakr bin Sanim. This is Sheykh Abu Bakr bin Sanim, and he was writing, as we said, when he was 17 years old. Radiallahu anhu. قال الله تعالى خطابا لنبيه محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم يا أيها المزمل قم الليل إلا قليلا نصفه وانقص منه قليلا أو زد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا. Surah Al-Muzammil. يا أيها المزمل. O you who's been wrapped in cloth. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When he came back, as we know, يا أيها المدثر يا أيها المزمل. This is an endearing, O you that's been enshrouded. I want to say that Khadija, she knew when the Prophet ﷺ received revelation, she came back and he was shaken. He said, Zammiluni, Zammiluni, Ya ayyuhal mudaththir, dathiruni, dathiruni, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Like, cloak me, cover me, because he was shaking, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, from the effects of wahi, of revelation, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in this beautifully endearing way, calls upon him, قُمِ اللَّيْلَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Stand for the night except a bit. نصفه أو انقص منه قليلا, or half of it, or take a bit less. وزد أو زد عليه, or do more. ورتل القرآن ترتيلا, and recite the Quran in a beautiful recitation. قال بعضهم منذ 40 سنة ما غمني شيء إلا طلوع الفجر. Some of the people of Allah, they said, for 40 years, nothing ever caused me sadness except the rising of Fajr. Nothing caused me, I was never sad about anything apart from seeing the sun come up, because it meant I had to go away from that time alone with Allah, that uns, that intimacy. لا إله إلا الله. قال بعضهم, some of them said, لولا الليل ما أحببت الحياة ساعة. Were it not for the night, I wouldn't have liked a single moment of life. A single moment in life. هؤلاء نفع الله بهم وجدوا فيه لذة لا تكيفها العقول. These people, they found in the depths of the night a taste, ladha, a sweetness, an experience that can't even be understood by any human mind. Because who are you receiving from? Allah. Allah's the one that gives. And every person that's generous gives in accordance to their generosity. You go to a generous person, you go to a generous Kareem, you go to their house, they're going to give you in accordance to their karam, their generosity. And if you're knocking on the door of Allah, what's he going to give? جل جلاله. لأنهم خلوا بمولاهم في جنح الليل المظلم. Because they turned back to Allah in seclusion. They went back to Allah, they retreated back to Allah. وَنَاجَوْهُ فِي سُجُودِهِمْ, and they beseeched him and called upon him, weeping in their sujood. وَأُسْلِبَتْ دُمُوعُهُمْ, and they wept in the depths of the night. وَلَاحَتْ لَهُمَ الْأَنْوَارِ وَرَفَعَتْ عَنْهُمَ الْحِجَابِ, and the light, the radiant light, nur, started to appear to them in the night. Their nights weren't dark. وَرَفَعَ عَنْهُمَ الْحِجَابِ, and the veil started to be lifted from them. فَظَهَرَتْ بَهْجَاتُهُمْ, so their radiance started to appear. Then he quotes, سِيمَاهُمْ فِي وُجُوهِهِمْ مِنْ أَثَرِ السُّجُودِ. سِيمَاهُمْ فِي وُجُوهِهِمْ مِنْ أَثَرِ السُّجُودِ. Their signs are upon their faces from the remnants of prostration. And there's a misunderstanding. People think it's that like dry skin that can appear in the middle of one's head. People may have that. Allah alam. That's not what's meant by the ayah. None of the people that I've met of my shuyukh have had that, and they're people they pray all night. They don't have that. And typically just use a shawl or something like this, like it was gonna. That's not the point. The point is nur, light, simahum. There's a radiance which comes from qiyam al-layl. It has an effect on the soul. And you'll see it. Souls can perceive it. Not that you do it as in, is anyone seeing that I'm praying in the night now? Is there any flashes, any glimpses, any lights? You're like, no, of course not. But it's a reality, that's what happens. It has a nur. So much of our depression and sadness and moodiness and grimness and grayness and like just can be solved just qiyam al-layl. Get up, two rak'ats, pray to Allah, ask Allah, and see how it changes your day. أولئك هم المؤمنون حقا. They are the true believers, real believers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لهم درجات عند ربهم ومغفرة ورزق كريم. They have degrees with their Lord. لا يستوي الذين آمنوا لا يستوي إيش الآية؟ أولئك هم المؤمنون حق. These are the true believers. They have degrees with Allah. and forgiveness, and rizqun kareem, a noble reward. What's that? Allahu a'lam. They have glad tidings in this life and the next. طيب, when we go back to Sayyidina Imam al-Haddad in a different text. So he talks about Qiyam al-Layl, about its many merits. He says, also quoting from the Quran, وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. So take from the tahajjud, pray in the night, نَافِلَةً لَكَ, as a voluntary prayer for you. عَسَىٰ, perhaps that your Lord will raise you to what's known as the maqaman mahmuda. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises the believers. تَتَجَافَى جُنُوبُهُمْ عَنِ الْمَضَاجِعِ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. La ilaha illallah. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Sharaful mu'min qiyamul layl. The true honor or nobility of a believer is qiyamul layl. And there are different forms of doing this. نعم. من قام بعشر آيات لم يكتب من الغافلين. The one that stands in the night and recites 10 verses of the Quran, he will not be written as from amongst the ghafilin, people of heedlessness. And they talk about dawaween. There are different forms of scrolls and scriptures. A diwan in the heavens, to mean a piece of paper and a pen, a heavenly, angelic, inscribing. You're being recorded. Where are you at in that time? And if a person gets up, they're not recorded from amongst the people of ghafla, of heedlessness. وَمَنْ قَامَ بِمِيَةِ آيَةٍ كَتَبَ مِنَ الْقَانِتِينَ. And the person that recites 100 verses is written from the qaniteen, people of devotion. وَمَنْ قَامَ بِأَلْفْ آيَةٍ كَتَبَ. Subhanallah. And it talks about this. These are qintar is a like an ancient weight. It's 12,000 uqiyya, and uqiyya is greater than the heavens and the earth. Basically, if you stand up and do 1,000 verses, like you're doing things big time, you've hit the jackpot. Radiallahu anhum. And they say, the scholars, they say from Surah Tabarak alladhi biyadihi al-mulk. So the first surah from the second to last juz of the Quran until the end of the Quran is 1,000 verses. Wallahu a'lam. And in the hadith sahih, إن في الليل لساعة لا يواثقها عبدا مسلم يسأل الله خيرا من أمر الدنيا والآخرة إلا أعطاه إياه. There is a time in the night that no Muslim believer asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the affairs of this life or the next, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will indeed give to them. وَذَلِكَ كُلِّ لَيْلَةٍ. And that is every night. That takes place every single night. Every night there's an opportunity to do this. And then Imam al-Haddad, he says, and were it not, وَلَوْ لَمْ يَرِدْ فِي فَضْلِ اللَّيْلِ وَفَضْلِ الْقِيَامِ سِوَى هَذَا الْحَدِيثِ لَكَفَى. And whether to be nothing else reported, nothing else related about the merit and the beauty of standing in the night, waking up, except this one hadith, it would have sufficed. It would have been well worth doing it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends to the sama' ad-dunya, the lower heavens, in the last third of the night. And what's meant by here is there's a specific inayah, a divine care, which manifests within that time. A form of forgiveness which is specific for the people that wake up in that time. Obviously, we're not talking about movement from place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created time and place, and Jalla Jalaluh, He's beyond being contained by anything in His creation, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then it said, is there anyone that is calling upon me that I may respond to him? هل من سائل فأعطيه. Is there anyone that asks anything so I can give to him? هل من مستغفر فأغفر له. Is there anyone seeking forgiveness that I may grant them forgiveness? And Imam al-Haddadi goes on to say, so think deep, think long and hard about where we're at with Qiyam al-Layl, and reflect about these ahadith and what you're depriving yourself of. And it's been related that the one that has too much sleep at night, it comes as impoverished in Yawm al-Qiyamah. And it's been mentioned that 2 rak'ats in the depths of the night, kenz min kunuz al-bir, are a treasure from the treasures of piety. Bir, and obviously they have their interpretation of what that means. And the Prophet ﷺ said that there is, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, people are gathered together on one plane, and somebody summons, a herald summons, where are those people that would raise from their sides, meaning get up in the night? فَيَقُومُونَ وَهُمْ قَلِيلٌ, and they stand up and they're very few in number. فَيَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةَ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ, so they enter into Jannah with no account, no accountability from the hadith. And then Imam al-Haddadi says, وَعَلَمْ أَنَّ قِيَامَ اللَّيْلِ مِنْ أَثْقَلْ شَيْءٍ عَلَى النَّفْسِ وَلَا سِيَامَ بَعْدَ النَّوْمِ, that Qiyam al-Layl is one of the hardest things on the ego, one of the heaviest things to do. La ilaha illallah. Allah. Some of the people that were persistent in it, they say, إن كان أهل الجنة في مثل ما نحن فيه بالليل إنهم لفي عيش طيب. If the people of Jannah are experiencing that which we're experiencing in the depths of the night, this is a good life they're experiencing. They've got a good time. Some of them have said, were it not for Qiyam al-Layl, standing in communion in the night vigil with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the night, and meeting brethren, people, other believers, I would have had no desire to remain in the dunya, in this world. La ilaha illallah. And then he says, وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ الْقَلِيلَ الدَّائِمِ خَيْرٌ مِنَ الْكَثِيرِ الْمُنْقَطِعِ, and knows that that which is small but consistent is greater than that which is epic but completely severed and bitty. Let's do a hot all night and then there's 3 years and nothing. Start off small. And to make the intention. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if he sees sincerity and knocking at his door, no doubt it will be opened for that person. It's also said in some of the previous revealed scriptures, كذب من ادعى محبتي فإذا جنه الليل نام عني أليس كل محب يحب الخلوة بحبيبه. He's lied, the one that claims my love. Talking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a previously revealed scripture. He's lied, the one that claims love of me. And when the night comes, nam anni, he just goes to sleep and leaves me. أليس كل محب يحب الخلوة بحبيبه. Does not every lover love to be alone with his beloved? They also said, some of the scholars said that wilaya or sainthood, that elect connection to Allah, has never been given except by means of Qiyam al-Layl. So if anyone wants to be of the awliya, it has to start with Qiyam al-Layl. You have to open up that communion. Sayyidina Imam al-Aidarus, he said, من أراد الصفاء الرباني فعليه بالانكسار في جوف الليل. Let the one that wants this divine purity or great spiritual openings, that connection to really accelerate one's spirituality, to accelerate one's movement upon the path, let him break himself in the depths of the night. What do you mean break yourself? Cry, weep, go back to Allah, convey your weaknesses, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, open up that door. طيب. So how do we do this? Where do we begin? Start by the intention. And there are practical things which help. Some of the people of Allah, they notice the way you are in the day will affect your night. So they would see that inability to wake up in the night as an effect of the darkness of the heart during the day. So if you find it really, really difficult, it's not just a physical thing. Sometimes you'll be very, very tired, but you'll find it very easy to wake up. And sometimes you'll have slept a long, long time, not able to get up. Why is that? But ultimately, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala waking a person up. Sometimes you can set all the alarms in the world, nothing. And sometimes no alarm, boom, wake up. Because the people of Qiyam al-Layl, they're summoned. We have to know about the greatness of what we're seeking. You know, closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, opening things up. You know, it's in the hadith also, it's even أيوة. The final part of the hadith, وَمَطَرْدَ لِلدَّاءِ عَنِ الْجِسِدِ, and it's a means for healing the body. Qiyam al-Layl actually has a physical effect on the body. You know, they say if you get up in the night, it's a way of maintaining good health. And even physically, there are certain things which take place when you wake up in the night. You know. So how do you do it? They say the time before Maghrib is really important. How do you spend your time before Maghrib? So at very least to be in a state of istighfar. Turn back to Allah. 27 times, astaghfirullah lil mu'mineen wal mu'minat. It's narrated the one that asks for forgiveness for the believers 27 times in this time, that they won't see anything which they dislike. They won't experience anything makruh, you know, that they dislike. To be in a time when you're prepared for Maghrib. When you go to sleep, to be in a state of wudu. Go to sleep as if you'll never get up again. Go to sleep. The tasbih as well, 33 times subhanallah, 33 times alhamdulillah, 33 or 34 times in a different narration, Allahu Akbar. This helps in getting up in the night. Another thing that they say is to read the last 5 verses of Surah Al-Kahf. It has a special khasiyah, a particular quality which helps, like an alarm, a spiritual alarm clock. You wake up. Amen. And there are different times, and the people are at differences. Sometimes there'll be people, they would go to sleep at 8 p.m. and they would wake up at 11 p.m. and pray on through to Fajr at around 4. And that's people of the Rijal, radiallahu anhum. But the minimum amount is just to wake up just before Fajr. Even if you don't make wudu. But you just wake up, La ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika la, lahul mulk wa lahul hamd, yuhyi wa yumitu wa ala kulli shayin qadir. Wa Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Just before Fajr, they're able to do it. The scholars even say, because it's challenging, because we also have a huge amount of benefit in staying up between Fajr and Ishraq. But they say if there's a choice between the two, Qiyam al-Layl, Tahajjud, is awla. If you're only able to get up and then you have to sleep out of being tired or you got work or whatever it is, it's best to do that. So you get my point? So you wake up before the entry time to Fajr, not when they pray in the masjid. That's not where it's considered, or where the adhan goes. You need to check when is the entry time to Fajr. Yeah, and right up until that time, it's still considered Qiyam al-Layl. And that's the difference also. Tahajjud is when you go to sleep. And that, Imam al-Haddadi said that's even harder. Because Qiyam al-Layl, there are opinions that it goes in any time after Isha. So if you know you're going to get really, really, really tired, at very least, pray 2 rak'ats just before you go to sleep. And it's considered Qiyam al-Layl, standing in the night. But the tahajjud is not considered tahajjud. It's special practice, except when you go to sleep. And the Prophet ﷺ, he had the most difficult practice, that he would go to sleep, wake up, and then go back to sleep, and then wake up for Fajr. And that's like, we've got novice and absolute expert and mastery. That's really hard to do. Really hard to do. That's why we understand the hadith that Sayyidina Bilal would come to the Prophet and wake him up for Fajr. Well, the Prophet wasn't praying tahajjud. The Prophet tahajjud was an obligation for him, part of his khasa'is. It was obligatory for him. He had to pray. Part of his maqam and his station as a prophet, as a messenger, he had to pray tahajjud. وَطَائِفَةٌ مِّنَ الَّذِينَ مَعَكَ, and a group of those that are with you, as the verse says. You know, so if you want to be with him, if you want to be of those group that are ma'ak, with him, yeah, then pray tahajjud. Wake up in the night. We start by making wudu, and you've got to once again go into some kind of politics with the nafs. If you wake up now, you're going to get some really good coffee. You're going to get some really good, treat it. You've got to wake things up. The awliya would do that. Imam al-Haddad himself, the first thing that he would do when he would wake up after the sunnah, wiping the face and doing the dua, which is Alhamdulillah alladhi ahyani ba'dama amatini wa ilayhi nushur. Praise be to the one that gave me life, ba'dama amatini, after he caused me to die. Because death is an approximation. It's a remind. Sleep is a reminder of death. Wa ilayhi nushur, and unto him is the resurrection. We're all going to be raised. So we recognize it's the first thing we do. Then what do we do? Reach for the siwak, a miswak. Yeah, you got to get a siwak, a miswak. The sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. He would wake up, and the scholars say because it's so powerful. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that it cleanses the mouth and it's pleasing to Allah. Mardatan lil-Rabb, and it places nur upon the face. The prayer with the siwak, with the 2-stick, is greater than 70 rak'at, 70 units of prayer without the 2-stick. So we need to be attentive to these. Were it not that I feared that it would be too heavy upon my ummah, I would have commanded them to use the siwak for every prayer. And in another narration, for every wudu. So it's not an obligation, but the Prophet ﷺ loved it. He inclined towards it. These are sunan. Very, very important. One time the Muslims lost in battle. And they weren't going into, well, strategically, maybe we could have had a few more people here, a few more people there. What did they went around and said, what are the sunnahs that we're neglecting that prevented Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving us victory? And they realized that there was some kind of weakness in the implementation of the sunnah of the siwak. So don't see them as small things, because the giants of this ummah, the great masters of this ummah, did not see it as small thing. Sayyidina Salah ad-Din Ayyubi, when he would go out in the camps at night, he saw one man in Qiyam al-Layl with his finger raised to the heavens, crying, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Sayyidina Salah ad-Din Ayyubi, he says, Wallahi, that one finger raised to the sky, to the heavens, in the depths of the night, is dearer to me than 1,000 stallions fighting. Because he understood. They understood what that meant. Victory. And not just some kind of domineering of some kind of war. They weren't warmongers. Look at what he did when he came into Darussalam, Jerusalem. They washed the streets with rose water. They gave people protection. They honored human life. Radiyallahu anhum ajma'een. Because they followed the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they were people of this maslak. Anyone that has issues with this in this time, well, it's a bit kind of like they're spiritual, and they're a bit off on a tangent. Salah al-Din Ayyubi, of this way. Sayyidina Muhammad al-Fatih, Istanbul. Name after name after name after name. People were rooted in this tradition, radiallahu anhum ajma'in. Also, when you go to sleep, to make an intention, just before you go to sleep. To read the dua before you go to sleep. And the Prophet ﷺ taught us the dua. If we don't have if there's a mailing, I believe there's a mailing list. People can put their names on the mailing list. We can get these du'as mentioned. It's also mentioned in the Khulas al-Madad al-Nabawi by Sayyid al-Habib Umar. It mentions the dua just before you go to sleep. And the Prophet ﷺ said the one that recites this dua, it's very simple to do, very easy, it doesn't take much time. The one that goes to sleep, if you die when you're sleeping, you'll get raised as if you were al-fitra, with no sin, completely clean. Now, here's the thing, even if you wake up, how are you going to wake up if you've gone to sleep in that state? And they say that the one that goes to sleep, and not missing, I'm not talking about missing Fajr. You've missed Tahajjud, that the shaitan has urinated in their ears, and you get up grumpy and moody, and there's a spiritual effect to all of these things. Look at the difference. If we started to rise in the night and wake up in the night, it has a huge transformative effect upon the soul. La ilaha illallah. This is how we develop that relationship. It's how we develop that connection. It's how we learn to keep it real. It's how we deal with our mistakes. And the Sheykh did say, by the rising of the sun, the entry point to Fajr, they've rectified everything between them and Allah. Everything's settled. Because they've gone back to Allah, Allah, please forgive me, Allah, please. And they're praying for people, asking for guidance, for their communities, for their families, their loved ones. Allah said, wake up, just ask me. Allah's asking, is there anyone that needs anything? And I can give them to, and we're like, I prefer to sleep. SubhanAllah. Life is so short. Life is so short. There's no time. One of the great masters, one of the great scholars, he was asked, he was seen in a dream after he died. And he said, all of these, intricate, deep, meaningful, words that we would give, and this, profound rhetoric and eloquence in the way that we would speak, it all went. And the only thing that benefited me are some short rak'at, short prayers that we used to pray in the depths of the night. It's the hallmark of sincerity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to do it. No one can do it except with tawfiq. You can't be asked to come to Allah except with tawfiq, with His enabling grace. The way to do it is set your alarm, go to bed not too late, make an intention, and you keep trying. Never let a night go by other than you've at least made the intention. If you sleep in, astaghfirullah. Okay, next time, astaghfirullah. Next time. Remind yourself. Because we've already said it's the heaviest thing on the nafs. And the people of Allah, they would say for 20 years, like it was in the state of muqabada, just struggle. Like it was not, there are certain things on the path which are just not fun. It's just not fun. It's not entertainment. But he said, for 20 years, I strived against my nafs, and I was like getting up, I just screaming to go back to bed. And then for 20 years, like look at the patience, look at the consistency, and he wasn't enjoying it. Because we're like, wow, what are all these great openings and all this sweetness and experience and, unveilings, and like, it's just rough. This is not fun. Yeah. And then for 20 years, I experienced this sweetness where I couldn't even describe. 20 years. And that was the way of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidah Aisha described him, when everyone else went back to their beloved at night, he went to his. He went to his, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. when any affair affected him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would flee to the prayer, flee to that connection back to Allah. Any opportunity to go back to Allah. He passed away, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, passed on, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, he was given two choices: to remain with us or to go back to the greatest Rafiq al-A'la, his beloved, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wallahi, lan yakhtarana abadan. Sayyidah Aisha, she says, yo, he's never going to choose us. You know, he's always with Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But still, look, you know, we're in the month of Isra wal Mi'raj, and he's the beloved, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, and he didn't forget us. You know, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed him, Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabiyyu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You know, it wasn't just, he said, Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadika as-salihin. Peace be upon us and all of your sincere, righteous servants. You know, may Allah make us from amongst them. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to understand the qadr and the greatness and the worth of Qiyam al-Layl, the transformative effect on our akhlaq, our character. Watch how it changes your character. Try it. Watch how it changes your character. You won't even have to try. You'll just feel soft-hearted. One of the signs of qaswa, like having a hard heart, is just, you know, having no empathy, not being touched when you hear the Quran, not being touched when you hear about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Side of a hard heart. And the furthest hearts from Allah are those which are hardened. You know, the softest hearts, they're able to weep easily. They're touched. They're touched when they hear the word of Allah. When they hear Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they're struggling not to weep because they miss the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are the believers. These are the real believers. How could we not aspire? How could we not at least love those people? You know, and want to be like those people. These are the people, you want to follow anyone, these are the people to follow. You know, and we're going to fall short. We're going to fall short. We always fall short. But if you're on the way, you know, and mar'u ma'a man ahab, a person is raised with the one that they love. You know, if you know the place of veneration, of love, these are the people, I could never be like them. إِن لَمْ تَكُنْ مِنْهُمْ فَتَشَبَّهُ. If you're not from them, if you're not really like them, فَتَشَبَّهُ. Just pretend to be like them. Just try. You know, because that's what everyone else is doing anyway. We're all wannabes at some level. فَإِنَّ التَّشَبُّهُ بِالْكِرَامِ فَلَاحُ. Because indeed in the process of resembling these people of honor, people of reality, people of Allah, falahu is success. You've succeeded. Even if you didn't taste anything, even if you fell short, following in their path. May Allah give us tawfiq, inshallah. Qiyam al-Layl. If the Muslims started to pray Qiyam al-Layl, and some people are like, well, I'm not even really good on my 5 prayers. Just do it. Stop rationalizing. Stop thinking, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Just throw yourself in the ocean. This overly rationalizing is killing us as a community. Do it. Do it tonight. And even if we're falling short in our 5 daily prayers, get up in the night that Allah give you tawfiq to do it. Ya Allah, I'm struggling with the Asr. I'm struggling with Maghrib. I'm struggling with it. Ask Allah. And don't think like, well, if I do this, and just ask Allah. Ask Allah. Stop rationalizing. Stop thinking. Stop figuring it out. Just, Allah, please. I put it all before you. The amount of time we complain to people. Yeah, I've got this problem, I've got that problem. I'm going through this. Have you ever complained to Allah like you've complained to that person? Like your friend you confide in? And the nature of people hate to be complained to. Everyone has a cut-off point. Okay, I get the point. Enough already. With Allah loves to be complained to. Allah loves it. Ask of me, even if it's the salt in your food, just come to me. Come to me. Come to what's real. You know, if you're struggling, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling weak, if you've got troubles in your life, place it before Allah in the depths of the night and watch how your iman boosts. We're in a time, there is no time for messing about. People are dying, the Muslims are dying. I'm not talking about physically. We're going around like zombies. The prayer to the deen is like the head to the body. So if you're not praying, it's like you're going around like a headless corpse. How are you going to understand anything? How are you going to make the right decisions in anything? The lightness of those that remember Allah and those that do not remember Allah is the similitude, the lightness of the living and the dead. So you're going around like a dead corpse with no head. How are you going to understand anything? How are you going to make sense of anything? Engage with Allah. Be a person of dhikr. Illuminate yourself. Do yourself a favor. And watch how Allah meets you. If my servant comes to me, shibr, a handspan's length, I come to him an arm's length. If he comes to me crawling, I come to him running. Allah is waiting to receive you. And we can do this tonight. Well, I've got work in the... Who cares? Who cares? Get up, do it. Allah, you know what happens? You'll be tired the first few days, but that spiritual elation, that joy which you feel will carry you. And you'll feel sweeter than all those grumpy days when you haven't prayed tahajjud or fajr. Get up and wake up. Be who you've got to be. There's no other way. Why waste it? We've heard this now. We've got to do it. We've got to do the amal. We've got to put pen to paper. Get to work. This is the work. This is what we've got to be doing. 2 rak'ats. 2 rak'ats. 2 rak'ats. Even if we're not feeling it. It's hard. Go make wudu. You know, have a sip on coffee. Habib was saying, Imam al-Haddad, he would get the coffee on the brew, you know, like a tahajjud fika. Get the coffee on the brew, and then he would go and make wudu. He was blind. Imagine how hard that is. He was blind. Imam al-Haddad didn't stop him. And then he would come back, take a sip, and then Bismillah, let the night begin. Habib Ahmed bin Hassan al-Attas, he would stipulate, if he was to stay over at someone's house, that they'd have like a good coffee kit. Adawat al-Gahwa. And he would stipulate that it was prepared for him, ready. So when you wake up, Bismillah, get it on the go make wudu, Allahu Akbar. That's how coffee, that was their fika. You know, something else. Radiallahu anhum. So may Allah allow us to revive this in our homes. This will be light in our homes. You know, our children, seriously, in our communities, really, they're slipping away. Who knows? Next generation, they've got a Muslim name. Do they even know anything about Islam? Do they know anything about the Prophet ﷺ? Anything? And if we really care, yeah, it's not about how much you post online. Who cares? It's doing nothing. Get up in the night, do something that's real, that goes against your ego, that's the hardest thing to do for Allah. Oh, I did it, I was sincere for the sake of Allah. That's the mi'yar. If you want to keep it real, get up for Allah. Keep it real with Allah. Cry to Allah. The Prophet ﷺ said, if you can't cry, fake crying. Imam Ghazali says, if you don't cry, when you read the word of Allah, whether you understand it or not, but who's the speaker? Who's speaking to you? If you're so dead that you don't perceive this, cry at the fact you can't cry. Cry at the fact your heart's so hot. Get into this state of learning. That's how the Prophet praised the Yemenis. Not like, oh, the real strong, masculine alpha males, and we can, you know. No, they had brittle hearts. أَرَقُ أَفْئِدَةً وَأَلْيَنٌ قُلُوبًا. And they have soft hearts. People, when they hear, used to praise them because on Hajj, they used to chant, لَبَّيْكَ اللَّهُمَّ لَبَّيْكَ. People of Iman. Al-Iman. Al-Imanu Yamanin wal-Hikmatu Yamaniya. Faith is Yemeni. Wisdom is Yemeni. You know? That's nothing would impress the Prophet ﷺ except a person of taqwa. If someone had taqwa, he'd be impressed by it, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why he was impressed by the Yemenis, not because they wore a certain type of imama or like a izar or like had good honey or whatever. It's because of the realities in their hearts. You know? Whether you're Yemeni or Shami or whatever, Swedi, Rubi, doesn't matter. Iraqi, Shemali, Janubi, Biratani, doesn't matter. The main thing is, you know, the heart. May Allah illuminate our hearts. If we have pride, conceit, arrogance, envy, hatred, all of these things, break it in the night, smash it, Ya Allah. Please, now's the time to detox. Let's get rid of this for His sake, for the sake of ourselves, for the sake of our communities, for the sake of the Prophet. He said, imagine how happy he would be if he got reported the news, tonight, that Fulan bin Fulan, so-and-so, the son of so-and-so, got up in the night and really called out to Allah. That's going to make the Prophet happy. If you make the Prophet happy in his barzakh, Allah is going to unlock khairat, all these good things, going to transform things. Learn just to ask. Stop putting a barrier to Allah. I'm going to ask her this because it's kind of workable. I can see this working out. No, ask the impossible. Watch how your iman boosts. Subhanallah, Allah did this for me. Allah is changing it. Allah is doing. You feel it in your life. We need to inculcate this within ourselves, within our communities. This is the time to rebuild iman. The time to cultivate yaqeen, certainty that this is real. Annahu haqq. This is real. Allah build this within our souls and connect it to those people that preserve this tradition for us. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.